Knock, knock.
Who's
Hello.
there?
Who's there? I don't know. I don't know knock, knock jokes. Sorry.
Well, you can't just give us a knock knock joke and then not. Oh my God.
Yeah,
was
That's not
just-
how it works.
It was just my way of saying that I'm in the room. You knock
So it was the knock
when
knock that
when you walk in the room.
so it's the mom knock knock. It's the knock knock. I'm opening the door as I'm knocking.
Exactly.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to May We Geek Again, Episode 2, a podcast covering a little show we all know and love called The 100 over on the CW network. We're back, bitches! Episode 2, guys. I'm one of your hosts, Jennifer, and I'm joined today by my co-hosts, Joe and Shahin. Hello, guys!
Howdy.
Hey.
Could the energy level be any lower?
How's it going?
It's going great. I guess I should disclose.
We're back, bitches, for real.
So I'm about 1 dram into Lagavulin 16, which is a nice, funky, smoky, peaty scotch. And apparently nobody else is drinking. So I might be a little silly.
Well, I had a bowl of Kashi Goleen, so,
Oh, wow. Watch out.
living
everybody.
it up on a Friday night. Whoa.
Jesus Christ. It's like,
I know.
oh, the glow sticks are about to break out over there. So I just want to give attribution. We have a theme song, everybody. And it's called, what is it called? It's called Discipline by a little band that some folks may have heard of called 9 Inch Nails. They are on Creative Commons, guys. The music is free. It's free for non-commercial use. So I chose it for our theme music. But apparently my co-hosts have zero taste in music and don't appreciate the genius that is Trent Reznor.
I would say I appreciated it when I was a lot angstier, and the music spoke to me, and, I had a lot of feelings about things, and they were important feelings. But now I sit at home on a Friday night recording podcast eating kashi. So my life skill, my life direction and trajectory has sort of changed a little, I suppose.
I suppose,
I
but
have no feelings.
Oh.
So.
Well, I've been in love with Trent Reznor ever since college, and his video for Closer made me feel things, weird, awkward things for him. So it's just great that
were they adult things?
Oh, yeah, they were adult things, and it's like it's great because as I grow older, he grows older too. So the attraction is age appropriate, I feel. So I just want to thank everybody for joining us on our second podcast. Y'all can find us on social media. You can find us on Twitter at May We Geek Again. Our feed is now available on iTunes. And we're also on Tumblr as well. It's maywegeekagain.tumblr.com or whatever it is. I don't get Tumblr. I have a hard time.
Worst.
It is
Tumblr,
the worst.
Like it's fine, if you just want to look at things, but if you want to do something, I don't understand. Again, maybe this is my Kashi Goleen showing, but I'm not getting paid to say that. I just like saying it. They're not paying me. Though any Kashi people who want to send me cereal, we'll talk. Send us a PM.
Again, reminder that our theme music is under the Creative Commons no commercial license, so we can't make any money off of this. So, folks, stop sending in all the money.
Free cereal. Honestly, if it's between free cereal and Creative Commons, I will buy us some music so I can stockpile some cereal. We're going to we'll talk about this later.
You just want to ruin the whole 9 Inch Nails thing I got going. So, yeah, we're on Twitter, iTunes, Tumblr. So we welcome all your feedback and questions. Be sure to check us out on social media, and you can direct any specific hate towards me. And you can find me on Twitter at CoolHandLuquette, and I also have a little blog called DeclareShenanigans.com where I do the 100 reviews, and I think I'm going to start working on my season 3 wrap up tomorrow, barring any hangovers or other plans. Spoiler alert, I won't have other plans, so probably start working on it. So the thought around episode 2 is we're going to go all the way back to the beginning of the series and start watching it from episode 1. And the episodes we're going to talk about today are episodes 1 through 4. So the pilot, Earth Skills, Earth Kills, and Murphy's Law. And just giving you some season 1 details, the pilot and Earth Skills were both written by Jason Rothenberg. And for episode 3, our writers were Elizabeth Kraft and Sarah Fain. And for episode 4, our writers were TJ Brady and Rashid Newsom. So folks that we haven't heard from, I don't think, in a long time, save for Jason Rothenberg. But we got some good work in the first 4 episodes. So, since we're going back to the beginning, I really want to know, given the kind of the makeup of the folks we have on this podcast, how the hell did we all get into this show in the first place? So, Joe, let's start with you.
Well, let's see. My significant other, my girlfriend, had gone out of town for a few days for some law school thing or whatever, and she got back and was like, "Hey, we need to watch this show." And I was like, "Oh, okay, sure, let's do that." And, like getting through the first 3 episodes, I was like, did I completely identify you? Can I trust you again? Are we about to have to throw away actual 5 years of, a loving relationship? Because holy shit, what are we watching? But then people started dying and I was like, yeah, this show. And so that's where the magic started.
Okay, Shahin, what about you?
Well, I was watching something, I think some Comic-Con panel or something on YouTube, and I think Eliza Taylor was on it and a bunch of other people. I think I was watching it for some other actor or actress. And they said something about, so your character just killed 300 people. And I was like, wow, what's this show about? Let's go check it out. So that's how I found the 100. I actually, obviously, my jaw dropped right around episode 3, 4, 5. But I wasn't really dreading the first few episodes that much. It was fine. It got astronomically better, obviously, but.
I feel like on the rewatch, and maybe it's because I have a special affection for certain characters now, but at the same time, I was watching it, I was like, okay, it's not nearly as hokey and heavy-handed as I remember it. But again, that's probably because because I knew where it was going. Though full disclosure, I do have a buddy who's doing the rewatch with me who has never seen the show, and she definitely there were a few moments there was a lot of groaning at Finn. And his ultra cheesiness, but she actually also really enjoyed the first 4 episodes. So I would say, maybe I was just being a little harsh.
I mean, I guess I'll go through some of the reasons why I feel like it's not that bad, but obviously there's a lot of cheese and there's a lot of cliches and some of the main motives are totally different.
Yeah. Now, before we get into that, let me share how I got into the show, if you guys care. I mean, you can. You guys
guess.
Can. Okay.
Do we?
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Cool. So, every year I take 2 weeks off during the holiday vacation, and I just pretty much meld with my couch, and turn into a very lazy, self-hating creature. In the first week of my holiday season, 2015, I decided to watch a little something that Netflix dropped over the holidays called Making a Murderer. I binged that over 2 days and came out of it depressed, angry, and ready to rage at anything. So I was looking for something a bit lighter, something a little bit more fun to watch, entertaining. And I had known from Eric Goldman, who is a TV editor over at IGN, that he highly recommended The 100. So I'm like, okay, it's a CW show. It's going to be kind of light narrative with pretty teens, maybe some cool action and drama and whatnot. So I'm like, okay, I'll just start watching it. Its first 2 seasons are on Netflix. I got through the first 4 episodes and I was ready to fight somebody because I was like, this is not the light breezy show I fucking signed up for. Like, what the fuck is this?
Like a 12-year-old just killed someone and then killed herself, and you're like, oh.
I love it. I love it. But it was like, it had me so hooked. I spent the next couple of days binging the rest of it, got depressed because it was over, and then binged it fucking again. And just became like the most obsessed person ever as like a 43, now 44-year-old human being with other things going on in her life. Apparently not enough. Yes, we did.
All of us binged, right? Like none of us. I mean, we all watched season 3 live, but like we all binged.
The first 2 seasons, yep.
Yeah. All right, just cool.
But like, I think I forewent showering, eating, just like anything that had to do with normal human existence, and just binged the fuck out of this show.
So you were pretending you were 100, like just no shower, like you were season 3 Clark. You were ahead of the game, like you were being a gross delinquent.
I didn't kill anything though. I did manage to maintain my animals, my pets.
Did you kill your self-respect?
Look. 2 weeks off of me having
just
to
answer the fucking question. Just it's a yes or no question.
No. Okay, yes, and because
moving on.
With 2 weeks of no goals in life is a very bad thing. Like I have to be at work. Somebody has to tell me what to do with my day. Otherwise, I will likely die in like 3 weeks. So that's how I got into it. Doing a quick. So we kind of all really discovered the show. I don't think any of us really came at it, except for maybe me. I came at it from a CW perspective, and I say that with a quotes around CW, because my experience with the network was Vampire Diaries, another sort of light fare that wasn't really high stakes. So the show really surprised the hell out of me. And then I did some research about the CW, and the target demographic everybody thinks CW is going for is not the target demographic they are going for anymore. So the 100 and a lot of their new shows that you see coming up on their fall schedule, along with Jane the Virgin, Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, some of the other more serious, more adult stuff, is really the demographic that they're shooting for. So moving on into the actual 4 episodes, the whole thing is everybody lands on Earth. You've got the tension between what's going on Earth and what's going on in the Ark. So the folks on Earth need to figure out how to survive, and not only just how to survive on Earth, but obviously how to survive one another. As you can see, not everybody is on the same page when it comes to being a nice person. Up on the Ark, you've got Abby very much in some power plays with Marcus Kane. And it's really just some hot foreplay for these two. I swear to God.
Right? Like, who would have thought, like, that Kane would have turned, like, sexy, beardy Kane? Because back then he was, like, evil and his hair was slicked back and you were like, oh, I hate that guy. And then now you're like, oh, Kane. Oh. And, I don't know. And, not Penny's boat, but that's a separate issue.
Yeah, but, I mean, now I just want a full-size body pillow of Marcus Kane. For platonic reasons, obviously. So we've through these 4 episodes, we have a few dramatic occurrences. You get Jasper getting speared in the first episode, at the end of the first episode. So Clark and everybody else realizes that they're not alone on Earth. You also have some power plays going on with Bellamy trying to assert his power. I think he's a really interesting character in these 4 episodes, especially in relationship to Murphy as well. And then you've kind of got the same power plays going on up on the arc. And then the thing that grabs everybody is the end of episode 3. Charlotte shanks Wells in the fucking neck. Like, this little girl kills an almost grown-ass man. I didn't see it coming. Maybe y'all did. But I came into this with the idea that this is a CW show, low stakes, nothing really important is going to happen. And then that leads into episode 4, which is really the episode, I think, that just sort of elevates the whole show into a series where you don't know what is going to happen, that you realize that there are no Deus Ex Machina type things in play. You're not going to get the little girl saved or redeemed. You're going to get some harsh shit going down, because at the end of the episode, Charlotte eventually kills herself. And then we've got some other cool things going on throughout these 4 episodes. We've got the introduction of the angel, Raven Reyes. Raven.
Yay.
Yeah, oh God.
Raven is like awesome from the moment.
There's
they
no getting
open.
used to Raven.
Yeah. It's like she's in space floating and welding something. Yeah, they really did a good job with her character.
Yeah, she was kind of that spunky smartass from the very beginning. And if you look at her relationship with Abby as well, like, Dr. Mechanic starts basically in these first 4, she's introduced in episode 2. So in these first 3 episodes, you can really see a connection between the two. Raven, who doesn't really have a mother figure to look up to, and of course Abby, who sent her daughter to the ground and is doing everything, including putting herself at risk in service of trying to help Clark. So there's some really, really nice intimate moments between those two, building that relationship that we've come through seasons 2 and 3 to really, really appreciate, as kind of a surrogate mother and daughter relationship.
Yeah.
So I don't know if this is kind of a rhetorical question, but I have it down here as something we need to discuss. Were you hooked after the first 4 episodes, and which episode hooked you? For me, yes. I was in as soon as that knife went into Wells's neck, and it seems like such a fucking psycho thing to say. But I was like, they just killed off somebody who I had assumed would be a huge main character moving forward, and they just, like, offed him. He's dead, and a little girl did it.
I think that it's like, it was that moment, but that also kind of like sealed off the love triangle that was like the normal CW thing to do, where it was like, Finn, Wells, and then it's like, nope, just kidding. Where it's a line now. That love triangle is a line, and so I think that was like that kind of, when Wells got killed. Which, I mean, it sucks. Like, I would have liked to have seen more Wells, and I'd be curious, like, if what might have happened with his character, like if where his character growth would have happened, but I think that moment where they start actually killing kids, not just like them being stupid in the dropship and like dying out of their own stupidity.
Yeah, it's in a way, it's what's awesome about it is that it sucks that he died and that the story is willing to go there. It's what's awesome. Yeah, I was hooked to other things in these episodes too. I mean, obviously these moments that showed that this show isn't kidding around hooked me for good. Was
that pun on purpose? Kidding around?
Yeah.
Nice.
So yeah, but there were other things that attracted me to it, like the world building and all of that, and we can maybe talk about that later. But yeah. And the characters, I think from the beginning, there was some mystery to them that was interesting. Like, even though in some ways they were tropey and kind of familiar, but there was weird things about them, like girl from underneath the floor. What is that about? Or illegal spacewalk. What does that mean? So all of these backstories were already there in the first episode or first few episodes. So it was in to some extent well planned from the beginning.
Yeah. I think the one thing that we need to kind of focus on a little bit is that the pilot starts out with some pretty common character archetypes or stereotypes. So, we've come a long way since then. So when you're looking at these 4 episodes and you're taking them as its own little contained unit, how effectively do you think the show started to move away from these common archetypes? And what I mean is, if you just take the pilot by itself, you've got Clark, who's kind of the type A personality, the group leader who will not get anything less than an A on this project. So she's going to put her everything into it. You've got Bellamy, who's trying to be the bad boy. You've got Murphy, who's just kind of a shitheel from the very beginning. You've got Finn, who's bad boy lights / swashbuckler. His archetype confuses me a little bit.
He's sensitive and all knowing. He's trying to be wise beyond his years, trying to like show Clark that like he sees her and he sees Wells and he knows what's up.
Yeah. And speaking of Wells, you've got Wells, the best friend, who's pining for his best friend Clark. And then, of course, you've got Octavia, the stereotypical sexy girl. And then up on the arc, you've got Marcus Kane, who I thought was, fit into the power-hungry stereotype. Probably he struck me more than anyone else as being here's the archetypical power-hungry antagonist. I am going to be very bored with him. And now I'm like, I need a full-size body pillow of Marcus Kane. For platonic reasons only. But I mean, just like things switched around so quickly in season 1 with these archetypes. And I'm just like, for you guys, did those switches start to occur in these first 4 episodes?
I would say for me, like, especially like Clark to me was Hermione on the train. Like, know it all, the whole thing, and like everyone else kind of rolling their eyes about it. But the moment that she killed Adam, where you were like, damn, she is not fucking around. Like, you're like, oh, you would kind of expect her character to be squeamish. And, we kind of find out that, later on that, maybe she like, worked a little bit with her mom and like knows like a little bit of medicine, stuff like that. But, at the same time, you're like, you just straight up like mercy killed a kid who was like dying of, radiation tumors or whatever. We don't actually know what the smoke monster was at that point. And so I think that was definitely that moment for Clark. I don't think we really saw a lot of sort of moving away from those, one-dimensional characters with many other people except for maybe Bellamy, where we did definitely see a kind of a, oh shit, what have I done in his, starting this like Lord of the Flies, no rules, camp nowhere kind of a thing, and then being like, oh, we maybe should have some rules. I am also the oldest one here, and maybe I shouldn't be such a dick.
Yeah.
And so I think Bellamy had the most growth, but I think that I was also equally surprised by Clark, especially knowing how the show goes and how it's very much from her perspective, and that sort of you don't actually get the sense of where the show is going in terms of strong female characters or how strong they're going to be. And so I think that Clark killing Adam was definitely that first seed planted.
Sure. Shahin, what about you?
So I think I kind of touched on this already. I feel like while I agree with everything you guys said, and those stereotypes were certainly there, maybe this is just a product of, again, rewatching, looking back at it. I feel like the germs were planted from early on. Like, I feel like Kane, even though he's like 90% that guy, the power hungry, whatever stereotype, you can kind of see that maybe his motivations aren't so corrupted. Even in the pilot, I think there's that conversation between Abby and Kane. Is that in the pilot where they say, Kane says, I'm trying to make sure the human race survives, and Abby says, I'm trying to make sure we deserve to survive.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I think that's in the pilot. I did notice that very, very much.
right, like that sets up the tone of the entire show all the way through even season 3. You can say that was kind of another version of this question that Clark had to deal with at the end of season 3. So so I think there is some good stuff in there that kind of signals that some of these stereotypes are open to change. So yeah, like Clark is called a traitor at some point, and I'm like, what is that about? And so definitely there's a point where it becomes obvious where they do some shit that you weren't expecting, like Clark killing Adam, or you can draw the line at different places, like Charlotte or Murphy being hanged, or the culling would be probably the most uncontroversial line to draw. But yeah.
So Shahin, to your point about Kane, one of the things I noticed when watching the first 4 episodes, there was a quote from Jaha to Kane and this resonates and finds its beat in especially in season 2, when Jaha says to him, "This job requires more than simply following the law. It requires one knowing not to." And immediately I was just like, I went right to that scene in season 2 where he's having Abby shotclashed. Again, just more very weird kinky foreplay. But that was the moment I thought that Kane just kind of realized exactly what Jaha said to him, that applying the law isn't necessarily the right thing to do, especially when it betrays kind of who you are at your core. And I think, we'll visit this as we go through the next 2 episodes of our podcast, and we visit the rest of season 1, and Kane goes through such a huge transformation, but he still doesn't quite make it over the hump where he fully self-realizes, as he does in season 2, after he shotclashes Abby and becomes kind of Kane the diplomat, Kane the guy who rises above these petty, I must adhere to the law type things, and becomes more of a pragmatist and understands what true leadership is about. So I think that he's probably going to be one of the guys that I identify later as one of the most interesting characters in a set of episodes. But I think we need to visit right now who you guys thought was the most interesting character through these first 4 episodes. So Joe and I are on the same page when it comes to who we picked, but Shahin, who did you you have a weird pick, so I want to hear from you first.
I just picked John Mbege.
Why?
Wait, who? I'm sorry, I'm bad with names. Wait, who is he?
John Mbege is sort of one of Bellamy's guys. He's one of the first people that Bellamy sort of brings into his own group. I think it's him and Murphy.
So he's the other John.
Yep. He's the other John.
So not to make this crass, but he's one of the African American actors.
Yeah.
He is the one who calls for, correct me if I'm wrong, Shahin, but he is the one who calls for Murphy to be lynched in episode 4.
Actually, he's one of the people who helps Murphy. I thought so too, because there's that other black guy who's really adamant about lynching Murphy. But John Mbege is actually one of the few people who's trying to help Murphy in that scene, and he sticks with Murphy throughout.
Really, I thought Murphy eventually kills him.
No, he gets his throat slit with by one of the grounders. This is like one of the first people to die in the hands of the grounders.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Yeah, really. If you're listening to this podcast, you probably know the series inside and out.
I mean, we kind of said that we can reference things from anywhere, right?
Well, Well, yeah,
throughout the
certainly.
series.
This isn't for newbies. Spoiler alert.
Sorry.
So okay, so
So
obviously
yeah,
I'm very misinformed because I thought John and Beggy was one of Murphy's victims when they had the that bleeding disorder, that bleeding disease that they had. So
right.
my
No,
bad.
that's that other guy.
So
And
why do you think this guy is the most interesting
so
character?
he has like silently he's making choices. He's siding with Bellamy, and then he's kind of betraying Bellamy by siding with Murphy for a while. And then when they banish Murphy, he has to decide again if he wants to go back to camp and be Bellamy's goon, or go be Murphy's goon. And so he sides with Bellamy. Um, and then he gets his throat slit. So
I think it's really interesting the dynamic that John Murphy is to the whole group of people.
right,
He is Bellamy's like right hand man at the very beginning, but he's the guy that does what Bellamy is unable to do. And spoiler alert, my most interesting character during these first 4 episodes is going to be Bellamy. So this is in relation to Bellamy. So Bellamy is very interesting because if you watch him through these first 4 episodes, you can definitely see he has a lot of doubt when he's doing some of the more extreme things that he finds himself doing. And it's done very well by just Bob Morley's acting. It's not necessarily an expository thing, but you can see that he doesn't have the desire to go that extra mile to do something really horrible. You see that with Adam. He is unable to kill Adam. He is unable to do a lot of the stuff that he thinks that he needs to do in order to maintain leadership. But Murphy,
he doesn't want to get his hands dirty. He doesn't want to get his hands dirty, and Murphy is in the dirt.
I don't think that is the case here, Joe. I think that he doesn't want to get his hands dirty, not because it's inconvenient. I don't think he is capable of getting his hands dirty.
That's totally what I mean. Like, he is
not.
Okay. He doesn't want to, as in, like, not that he doesn't want his hands dirty. It's that, like, he doesn't want to put his hands in the mud. And, like, John Murphy is like, I'm fucking dirty already. Let's do this. And so, he, like, that's where their relationship kind of comes from, because, Bellamy sees someone who will take orders. Like, he gets to be the alpha in that situation. And I think he realizes sort of, that John Murphy without a leash, like, maybe, I don't know, like, it becomes kind of an interesting moment when they break their relationship. And, John Murphy gets hanged.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing is that when Bellamy aligns himself with Murphy, and with Murphy as his second in command or whatever, or the guy who will do the dirty work, Murphy is in a very tenuous position. He only has power with Bellamy and the small group of people that follow him. You can see in episode 4, when he calls for the whole group to go after Charlotte and hang Charlotte, that only his followers really want to go through with that action. So Murphy only has agency in that he has a small group of people who are just probably as psychotic as he is, and only if he has Bellamy's backing. If he doesn't have Bellamy's backing, Murphy's out there on an island with his 4 or 5 guys who will go out there on an island with him. And even at the end of episode 4, you see his guys, quote unquote, his guys are like, fuck it, we're not following Murphy into banishment. So Murphy is kind of like this guy that has a very limited capacity within this whole ecosystem to maintain his position. And once anything is thrown out of balance, as far as Bellamy's faith in him or his people's faith in him or the general population as a whole turning against him, that dude's on the outs. So I think Murphy is a really interesting, he's very singular in those first 4 episodes. He's kind of like the most he's the most binary person in these first 4 episodes. He is the least surprising. But I think he also serves a very interesting role in that if you're this dick, once you're out of power, you are out of power. And it's, it's very evident by his banishment at the end. But going back to Bellamy, that's just my take. These first 4 episodes, Bellamy is the most interesting person. He emotes more than anybody else. And I think he shows a lot more doubt in what he's doing than anybody else. So, Joe, you said Bellamy was your most interesting character. What sort of take do you have on him?
I would just, sort of agree with what you had said. He comes to the ground. He's older than the rest of them. We find out that, he was, just some janitor on the Ark. But he sort of, he both takes it upon himself and is sort of thrust in this position of leadership. Like he is, the biggest and the strongest among them. And so he, but he wants people to like him also. And so he wants to sort of separate himself from their life on the Ark. Like he has a sister who had to live in the floorboards. Like he, definitely carries a pretty big, chip on his shoulder, and he wants to sort of make this unruly, lawless paradise. And then I think he has a moment of kind of growing up for a second and being like, it's a reality check of like, shit, we are on our own. We do, Clark had to kill a kid because there's unknown things out there. And so, the moment where he, kind of goes along with the mob mentality of, killing John Murphy and then realizing that if he's going to lead or be in any kind of a leadership capacity, because we do know that, Clark kind of takes up that mantle and Bellamy kind of becomes her general. But, if he's gonna like be in this position of power, like he actually has to own that. He cannot just let the mob mentality rule, because then there is blood on his hands. If he allows it to happen because he could have stopped it, if he allows it to happen, then like he straight up would, Murphy's death would have been on his hands. Even though he's a dick, he was still innocent. And so I think like Bellamy's sort of transition just in those first 4 episodes of realizing we need rules. I can be a leader, but like if I'm going to say that I'm going to be a leader, then I actually have to follow through with that. And I think that that's kind of a big sort of growing up moment for him.
Well, I have a question about the episode 4 scene where Bellamy is the one to kick out the box from under Murphy to hang him. I don't understand why I think I understand why he did that. Because he needed to show leadership in that moment, because there was no way the mob was going to listen to reason at that point. But I'm also like, okay, so he's showing leadership, but is he really actually thinking that that's what he's doing? Or is he going along with the mob mentality? I mean, what is driving him in that moment?
Yeah, I felt like it was a little too quickly. he like decided that that's what he should do, kind of too quickly. But I think the idea was that he was trying to keep it, prevent it from getting out of control. So he just thought he has to give the mob what they want. But it was, it felt like he should have pondered on that a little more. But yeah. Can I inject something I wanted to say about this? I think this is the best place to say it.
Sure.
I think that one thing that also was, again, another thing that was interesting for me from the beginning and kind of dragged me into the show was how it's always about building a society. And for a story about how to build a society, we kind of had to start in this place of whatever the hell we want. Because that's always assumed to be the so-called state of nature, where before there were any laws, before there was any social arrangement, everyone on their own, everyone fighting for themselves. And then presumably people realized as the story goes, that it's better to give up some of our freedoms but have some rules. It's in the interest of everyone. So I feel like we had to have that transition, and so that's kind of one of the purposes that the first 4 episodes serve. So I think it's not completely out of tune with the rest of the show.
Yeah. So I'm looking at the run sheet for our podcast, and this I remember this question came in from Joe when we were talking on Skype chat. Joe, ask it. I can't.
So going back to the beginning of the show, you're like, Clark, what's up with your voice? Like, it's so high and breathy, and you're like, it's so like false sounding. And the question is, not to be too crass about it, but when did Clark's balls drop? And like, because they did. There was like a moment where you're like, yeah, like now let's get down into like sexy Clark voice. And like I wonder how much of that was like them, like I almost wonder if it was a conscious choice of like, she is this like accommodating, smart, pretty girl, who like wants people to like her, and she's got this, like she doesn't want to like have, a very like commanding voice or anything like that. And then like she starts like killing kids and like kicking ass, and she's like, fuck it, we're doing this, And like I wonder, like, and that happened around like episode 3 and 4, like it started to go down, and now like it's it's sexy Clark voice, which I don't think anyone is complaining about. But I wasn't sure if that was like maybe an intentional thing of like for the character, or maybe like test audiences were like, her voice is too high. Like I'd be curious to like know the answer to that. But I'm glad that it happened, and I approve.
I took a very pragmatic view of your question of when did Clark's balls drop, and I thought, well, maybe perhaps it was her becoming more, Eliza Taylor herself becoming more comfortable with an American accent.
Oh yeah, like you can definitely tell.
Yeah, not necessarily. I don't know, and I don't think it was a conscious choice by them, but God bless her voice now. Oh Lord.
Do you think it could have been like she was a child when they landed, and she grew the fuck up, and like her voice deepened?
We're talking 6 months on the ground. I don't.
No, I mean like metaphorical child. Damn it. Like. Like, I mean, obviously, like, she is 17 on the show.
She was I think a month away from turning 18.
Right. So, like, I mean, obviously, like, I if it was sort of an underwritten thing of, like, she was a child when she landed on the ground, but now, like, she killed her first
now she's
other
woman.
Person, and now she's a woman. She's, spilled blood, as they say.
I think there is something to that. I think that it's like I always say, if you sort of assume that every day is like a week, I know it's not, but like if you were to assume on this show, everything kind of has a different meaning, and you can sort of understand a lot of things better. And it feels more realistic too, because in 6 months would be like, I don't know, 42 months. So that would make more sense.
Look, I am a lowly holder of a degree in literature, and I don't do the maths. It still doesn't make sense to me, though. It's like I'm gonna stick with I'm gonna stick with Eliza Taylor got a lot more comfortable speaking English, or speaking in an American accent.
Speaking American.
Could also be the influence of cigarettes. I'm not saying. I'm just saying. If you creep her Instagram account,
she is also more and more miserable. So.
Like, maybe she's just kind of beat down. Like, the
she's
earth dragged her and her voice down to the ground.
So you're basically saying she's droopy dog.
She's droopy dog with a shank, and she will shiv a bitch if needed.
She's droopy dog.
Next question.
Next question. Another great question. I think I came up with this one. How many seconds did it take you to fall in love with Raven Reyes?
Trick question, -5.
I think, didn't we already answer this?
No, we didn't. We're going in order, Shahin. Pay attention.
No, we did answer this because we said that Raven was awesome as soon as she appeared on the screen. And that's interesting because I wasn't expecting it to be. I didn't remember how she was introduced. I thought that the scene where she comes into the airlock and takes off her clothes, I thought that was maybe later. But that was the first one, and it was a cool natural intro,
Here's this ass kicker.
Like a good intro is like when you feel like you're dropped in the middle of this person's life and they're not like introducing them to you as if this is the first day of their lives. So
and you feel like you kind of already know them, like you get who they are.
Yeah.
I kind of felt like I got who Raven was.
yeah, and her mannerisms
like-
is consistent throughout. So yeah.
I just think it's interesting. You're like, yeah, when she came through the airlock and took off her clothes.
I mean, who was not a fan? Like, fight me.
And that was the last time we saw anything like that. Well, she had sex
Well,
with
no,
Wick
I mean-
too.
No, because then wait, are we talking about Octavia jumping in the water and like?
But that was in the
I meant
episode
with
prior.
Raven.
Hey, did you like everyone's reaction? Should we have had a clue to Clark at that point in time? Where
I
she's
know,
like,
right?
"Ooga, hello, nurse."
But like looking, like knowing that they like film in Vancouver and it looks very foresty and stuff like that, and I'm just like, that water looks cold. Like that doesn't look fun at all. Like I don't know, maybe I've also never been like locked under the floorboards of a spaceship my whole life, and you know, maybe you just become overwhelmed and need to jump in the water with a snake monster.
Yeah,
I don't know.
They don't know they're in Vancouver. They're in where do we assume that they landed?
East Coast?
In
East
Virginia.
Virginia?
Virginia?
Somewhere?
Yeah.
But
I wanted to
month?
talk about this. If
Where's
that's
Mount
okay.
Weather?
Okay. What do you want to talk about?
About the location and the world building and all of that.
Okay, hit it.
So that's another aspect of it that dragged me into the show was the world building. And part of what I like about the world building in the show is that they used actual locations. They kind of, obviously it's all ruined and it's all different. So it's really cool. And I feel like I've noticed that some people don't know this. This is not speculation or theory. This is facts about the story and about the real world. For example, Mount Weather is a real location in Virginia. It's a real bunker that exists, and no one knows what's inside it. But the idea is that it's a bunker for important officials and the president and whatnot. In the case of a nuclear disaster or some kind of disaster, to take them to that bunker. So they used like a real place in the real world. And it's interesting. So we know that they dropped somewhere in Virginia near Mount Weather so far. And then
Didn't
as the other items are introduced, we can sort of locate them where they are, Ton DC and the Arcadia and all of that stuff. Go.
Sorry. Didn't somebody from the subreddit like actually go and take pictures of Mount Weather? Like I feel like I remember seeing that like somebody was like, "Hey, it's a thing."
No, Mount Weather is a thing.
Yeah. It's a thing. It's like I don't think it's a nuclear bunker, but like it's a thing. Like it exists now.
Right.
As a place.
Yeah.
And no one knows
It was
what's inside it.
actually,
It's all classified.
It was actually mentioned lately on a TV show, and I can't remember if it was I want to say Supernatural, but that doesn't feel right. But yeah, it did have a casual mention on TV show. So we're basically dealing with the Virginia and the Maryland and the the District of Columbia
area.
That's Washington, D.C. for everybody. That whole area. So, depending on what month they dropped in, it could be 80 degrees, 90 degrees. I don't know what the weather is like on the East Coast. I only know what the weather is like in Houston. And it's just like hot as fuck
Yeah.
or mildly hot as fuck. And hurricane-y.
East Coast is less hot as fuck, but way more humid as fuck.
No. I beg to differ. Come to fucking Houston, all right? It's like 30 bazillion% humidity right now. All right?
Is that
Also, there seems to have been
imperial
some
or
major-
metric?
That's imperial and metric. I don't fucking care. You have to realize we're so close to the Gulf. We have bayous running through the city. And it's
Why would
just
you live there?
like
Yeah.
10 years ago, it was really low cost of living.
Are we
Now
still
it's
talking
high
about the
cost of
100?
sweat. No, sorry.
I'm sorry. Hello and welcome to Houston Weather Podcast.
I just wanted to say a good segue back to the 100 is that there seems to have been some major climate change as a result of these nuclear bombs. Like shit has changed. Like Manhattan is a desert now, and like these kinds of trees. And
We
there
haven't
are, like,
learned that yet, though.
yeah.
Yeah, we don't
But, like,
know
there are-
that. We just know that they're two-headed deer.
I know, but
Which
like
we will
if
never
we're
see
talking about
again.
what's real in the show, a lot of weather has changed a lot. So
Yeah,
which happens
and-
in a nuclear apocalypse, I'm told.
And I just kind of do a hand wave of these scientific.
Science?
Yeah, like that GIF where what's his name is just like magic from SNL.
Yeah.
That's how I view. That's the lens with which I view all this shit on the 100. I don't care about this stuff. To me, I'm like,
It's part of the fun, though. It's part of the world building in this case.
I love world building, but I don't like these little nitty gritty detail world buildings that I don't care about. I care about the characters more. And I'm like, okay, so you're going through a desert that just happens to be the same place where Manhattan was. I don't really give a fuck, and I don't care
Wow.
about the science behind it.
Well, I mean, depends on
wow.
what you mean by the science behind it, because that whole concept is very important, very I don't know, sad and impactful for me. Of like Manhattan having turned into a desert and the head of the Statue of Liberty is sticking out. Anyway,
yeah, but
we're
that's been
jumping ahead.
that is so overdone. I mean, that shit, like Planet of the Apes did that.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if they were the first that did that. We're talking like, when was the first Planet of the Apes? Is that back in the
Wait,
60s?
Could we not have gotten like a damn dirty Pana? Like, is that is that upcoming? Like, is that season 4?
Damn dirty partner.
Exactly.
So you're saying the imagery is overdone?
I think the imagery is overdone because when you think about the symbol of America, it is the Statue of Liberty, and if you destroy it, if you bury it, that is a very powerful thing that resonates within Americans. So I'm not saying it's not an ineffectual symbol or image. I'm just saying, been there, done that.
Right.
So,
I mean, they don't
but
really use that in the show. It's kind of in the intro sequences. But the point of
Yeah, you're right.
Just like the fact that you're walking through Manhattan, I mean, I don't really care too much about the statue per se. There's also like the Manhattan Bridge. But the concept of like, that's presumably what, like, that was the pinnacle of our civilization. And now look what's left of it. I guess maybe it's overdone. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe I haven't watched too many of places where this has been shown. So,
yeah. So, moving on a little bit, I'm gonna skip a couple questions that we have here, and get to something I think is important. Does anyone else miss Wells? And the framing of this question really comes in, how would his relationship with Clark change? How would he have viewed her as she went through her journey? Now, from my perspective, I think Wells would have been a fascinating point of view character, especially to give us a different view of Clark, somebody who has been a lifelong friend with her. And Wells seems to be a bit of an optimist and maybe a bit of a pure spirit, even more so, but a pragmatist, like even more so than Finn ever was. And I really, man, I really wish that they had picked somebody else to die in episode 3 other than Wells, because I think he would have been a fascinating guy to view Clark through. What do you guys think?
I mean, I think on the one hand, I didn't want him to die in the sense of like, yes, he would have been a very interesting character. On the other hand, I think he had to die. I think he was Clark's last tie to who she was. He was the person who knew her, who knew what happened to her dad, who knew what happened to her mom. Like, him dying made it so that she could become what she ended up becoming. And like, I'm jumping ahead a little bit. And there was, sorry, I'm trying to like find the line where Clark actually says, we don't decide who lives or dies, not down here. And I think with Wells there, she wouldn't have become the leader that she did. And that's who she became. She decides who lives and who dies. Like, that's who she is.
So you think that she would have, that Wells would have become like, shit. What is the thing on engines, in NASCAR engines, which basically says you cannot go above this miles per hour. It's a restrictor. Like, it's a restrictor.
Jiminy Cricket.
So basically, you think that Wells is basically the restrictor that would have kept Clark in check and would have stopped her from becoming, at the end of season 2, one Hedda.
I think that given their history and everything like that, like, and because she was moving towards forgiving him, especially because, obviously he didn't tattle on her dad. I think that his opinion of her would have carried a lot of weight. And I don't think that I think that she would have cared too much what he thought to not be a leader. And I think that Lexa provided sort of the polar opposite of that, where she was encouraging Clark to follow her instincts and to become the leader that she ended up being, and to make these hard choices, where I don't necessarily think that Wells would have supported. I think he would have like told her to back off of some of these choices, some of these like terrible things that she ended up doing to save humanity. I think that his kind of cold feetiness, that's just kind of the impression that I got from him. Like, not to say that he wasn't smart or wasn't good or anything like that. I think that he was too good. I think that he was too much of an optimist.
Huh, interesting. I would have loved to see kind of a verbal sparring between Lexa and Wells. Now that you mentioned that he might have provided a counterpoint to some of the philosophies that Lexa held.
Shahin, absolutely.
Shahin, what about you? Do you miss Wells?
So yeah, I feel like it's hard to say what the difference between Clark and Wells was exactly. They were kind of very similar. So if they had kept him on, they probably could have taken him in any direction that they took Clark in, and sort of have like two Clarks.
Oh my God! What if
Clark duplicates?
What if he became one Hedda? Like, what if like this was actually like Dark Wells?
Yeah.
And like they became,
I could see it.
But I think they had to get rid of someone who was buzzing around Clark.
Yeah.
And they have Bellamy, and they have Finn, and they had Wells, and for
Bellamy
whatever reason,
is such a better counterbalance, I think, to Clark. A more interesting counterbalance.
Yeah, he's definitely a very interesting counterbalance, because we see that he has darkness inside him, and he has the capacity to make some very bad decisions and feel really bad about them after he makes those decisions. I think it's Shahin, you really think that Wells would have mirrored some of Clark's traits?
I'm saying that it's possible that he could have been, like, if Clark had died in episode 3 and Wells had stayed on, he could have gone on the same journey as Clark went.
That's really interesting, because I see him as the guy who would not be able to kill Adam, like Bellamy was unable to kill Adam. So I guess I have just a very different view of Wells. And
But I
to
mean,
be fair,
they all
guys,
changed,
we
so-
didn't see a lot. Yeah. Yeah, your point is very, very right, Shahin. But we also didn't see a lot of Wells to really be able to put a stake in the ground as far as who he was.
Right.
And who he could have become. I've run through my mind, like, what if it was Finn who had died in episode 3, and maybe Wells who had turned a little bit dark in season 2, and Clark had to kill Wells in episode, spoiler alert, in episode, you have to, there's a lot of shit that has to shift around as far as, Raven's relationship with Finn and all that stuff. But I think Wells would have been a far more interesting character to carry forward than Finn. And a lot of people will kind of shit on Finn a little bit.
I like Finn.
I think Finn had his place.
He had his place, but Shahin, you liked Finn?
Yeah.
You're like the one person in the world who likes Finn.
I don't know. I think that you might be exaggerating. There are some people who like Finn. I mean, he had complexities from the beginning. One of the things that interested me about him was that when he basically helped Clark figure out that what Wells had done, and that it was Abby who turned over her husband, Clark's father.
That's true.
And he had no reason to do that. I mean, at that point, we thought that he was a rival for Wells, but he basically helped Clark make up with Wells.
Yeah.
And he was smart. Like, he totally read Wells better than Clark. So that was interesting. And then he became a pacifist. I think we needed that voice. Someone had to be a pacifist. Whether he was the best choice or not is, I don't know. But
yeah.
But where did Finn's sleeves go? Like, at what point was he like, I'm on the ground, I'm gonna wear a vest now? Like, that's really the only part that I wasn't able to follow. But maybe that's a personal issue that I have with vests.
So, what were some of your favorite scenes from these episodes? Let's start with Shahin.
Favorite scenes. First of all, I want more fucking glowing things.
Just across the board.
Yeah, just things that
Everything
glow.
glows.
I like it.
Did you like Avatar?
I did not watch Avatar.
Wait, for real?
Yeah, for real.
All right, we need to stop the podcast. Go spend
See
3
you in
hours
3.5
watching
hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we just, as an aside, really quick, is Avatar the movie that nobody really needs a sequel for, but that Homeboy is making sequels for?
I mean, I'm into it for the technology. Like, the tech that they used for it was fucking amazing. Like, it's the only 3D movie that I have actually wanted to see in 3D. I will not see 3D movies. But that one, I'm into it.
But seriously, when you think about huge blockbuster movies, obviously Avatar was one of them, but it's so out of the conversation that it's just Avatar, it was there. Anyway, okay, so back to Shahin, your favorite scenes. Glowing shit.
I like
Go!
glowing shit. I like that scene where they're watching soccer together.
So random. Why? That's so
I like
random.
it. I don't
Wait,
know
how does
why.
TV work there? That's my question, okay? Because, presumably, they have...
It's so cool.
how big is their archive of, television?
So what's cool is that one of the things that's cool about it is that they're betting on something that happened in the past. They're all trash talking and betting, but it happened 97 years ago. So, but they don't know what happened. So to them, it's
I
the
think
future.
they knew what happened.
They know what happens.
You think they're cheaters? You think that somebody would, pre-watch that game?
Oh, big huge. You don't think Clark is a big huge fucking cheater? Come on.
No.
I mean, okay, that's yeah. Clark wins at all costs.
I also like when Clark says to Charlotte that maybe they can put the pain that they experienced on the ark behind them, and maybe the ground will be a new beginning. And I'm like, yeah, right. Just wait. Just wait like 24 hours.
Oh, little
That
Charlotte.
dialogue is like so awesome because it's so quickly proven wrong and permanently that it's just like, that's so awesome that dialogue is even there.
I swear to God, Charlotte and fucking creepy little kids. I can't deal. I just cannot deal.
Well,
Yeah,
I
pretty
always
awesome.
have a problem with the creepy kids because, like, she's supposed to be what? Like, I would say, like, 12?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I think that's what they said.
sometimes I have, like, a real issue with kids who are supposed to be, 10, 11, 12, 13 or whatever, and they make them so dumb. Like, some of... Nice sound effect. I like that.
Oh, that's me pouring more Lagavulin. Thank you.
Just like, I don't know, like a 12-year-old having nightmares, like, really? Like, that was kind of the part that I didn't, and like needing a pep talk from Bellamy and, oh, she's so
That was
scared or
weird.
whatever. I don't know, like, I feel like I needed her to be 8 years old for me to buy that. But like, obviously they're not like going to put an 8-year-old kid on death row.
Yeah, but didn't they float both of her parents? So I would imagine that would have a huge psychological impact on you, regardless of your age.
I don't know. I guess I just don't have a lot of patience with creepy kids.
Oh, I have zero patience with creepy kids. Trust me. It started with Stanley Kubrick's The Shining, fucking Elliot and his red rum shit, and then those two twins in the fucking hotel. Yeah, fuck that shit. I saw that shit when I was like 8. And it's impacted me, obviously, all these
Every
years
time.
later.
Like, you're not allowed near children's playgrounds because you just, like, talk under your breath and are like, fucking creepy kids. Like, that's why.
I just
Like,
don't
you're
like...
weirding out.
Like, I don't like... I had a hard time watching The Babadook because I knew there was going to be a fucking creepy little kid in it. And it actually turned out to not be that scary. But still, creepy little kids, I just kill them off in the first 2 minutes... I will be fine.
Just kill the creepy kid. Okay, cool.
All right, gotcha.
Shahin, did you have any other favorite scenes? And I love like your takes because you have like the weirdest favorite scenes. Mine are just like, oh, I love this scene that everybody else loves.
I like Abby and Clark's cell. I think that's one of the earlier moments that's kind of touching and you kind of feel some emotion because she's come back to what you've seen before a couple of episodes earlier, so it's cool. I like the acid fog, and I have to say Adam dying of acid fog, and of course Clark mercy killing him, and Murphy being hanged, those are my favorite scenes, but also two of the most creepiest and sort of most disturbing scenes that I've seen in this show. And that includes Raven slicing her own wrists and all of that stuff that we see in season 3. I still feel like Murphy being hanged, the whole lead up to it, and then the way they did it and how helpless he was and how scared he was, it was just so disturbing, and I love it.
Actually, I think that's a lot of people's favorite scenes from these first 4 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
What I love about it is that Clark is the instigator here, and she unintentionally starts all this shit. And the way, so she goes and she determines that everybody should know about this information. Kind of like Jake. Her dad thought that everybody should know about the Ark dying. Mm-hmm. So she goes out and she tells everybody, hey, Murphy is responsible for Wells's death. And then shit spirals so out of her control at that point. And I just love how the show illustrates how the same type of instinct in people can lead to very, very different results. And, the mob mentality takes over, the callback kind of to the Lord of the Flies takes over.
Right.
And, Clark tries to stop Bellamy from all of this happening. And Bellamy basically says, hey, this is on you, princess, and kicks the box out from under Murphy. And I was just like, this is such a fucking awesome scene because it shows you how quickly things can get out of your control, how the mob mentality can just burst through and take somebody and take a situation to its extreme point. And I just love how, Murphy was basically going to die in front of everybody instead of except for Charlotte's like, oh guys, oops, I killed Wells. My bad.
Yeah.
I just think that was such a pivotal moment for the show that illustrated that you can't always follow your best instincts and expect others to follow what you think should be their altruistic instincts, because shit will go sideways so fucking fast on this show. And I think it was a huge lesson for Clark.
I think to your point, like, I think that this is something that's paralleled very well in season 2 with the missile getting fired into Ton DC and Lexa basically being like, you shut your fucking face. Like, shut your mouth about this. I will kill Octavia about this. Like, like it's a lesson that Clark learned, but I think that like in that circumstance, she was about to kind of go back on it, like being like, oh, we did this, we're about to do this terrible thing. We did this terrible thing. And Lexa basically saying like, this is what leading is. Like, sometimes you have to keep your mouth shut. And, it's not right. And it's, the truth can't come out all the time. And I think that was something that they really paralleled very well in season 2.
Yeah, I mean, it's just obvious from this perspective is that you cannot trust people's basic instincts. It's so easy to get swept up in the mob mentality. You can see it now in the media. Like when violence breaks out at political rallies, it's like, this is fucking ridiculous, people. We are an advanced civilization, and you're setting shit on fire at political rallies. This is the level of behavior and discourse we have. So I totally agree. I mean, like, this has got to be one of my favorite scenes of the whole series, because it just, like I said, it just kind of sets that tent pole in the ground and lets you really know what the show is going to be about, and that it's hard to be on the right side of a situation. It's hard to control a situation, and it shows Bellamy and Clark at two very different points at the very beginning of episode 4, and then at the end of the episode, you see them come together. And I think this is a very important thing to note. They come together as co-leaders at the end of this episode and explain to everybody that, hey, this is what happened with Charlotte. She flung herself off a cliff, and for his role in everything, we've banished Murphy. And it's a shift away from the Bellamy's idea of whatever the hell we want to a more, I guess, civilized is the right way to, I don't know,
I think
say
it's
it.
the climax in that storyline that I was talking about of starting from whatever the hell we want and the state of nature and realizing we need rules. This is like a perfect climax for that, where it's like, okay, now we definitely need some rules around here. So it really kind of drove that home. And I think this scene is also important in that we realize that on this show, everyone can be wrong, and Clark and the main character, the protagonist, can be wrong in serious ways and learn things. I think that's very important. So Clark is not like that heroine who just can do no wrong and every decision she makes is awesome. So we get that early in the season. That's pretty good. And it forges the relationship between Clark and Bellamy. So I think that's great too.
I think to your point of setting stuff up for Clark, I think it really sets up sort of the journey that she's about to be on, where her being wrong can be catastrophic for so many people. And like, it just sort of, you don't really realize it in this moment of just like this mistake that she made. Like it's kind of like, it's presented as sort of like a singular sort of like learning mistake of like, people are fucked up and they're going to get out of control. This becomes, oh, you don't even know how much of a leader you are yet, and how big your decisions are about to be and how like I mean, you know, it goes back to, you know, the end of season 3 where she has to pull a lever and like, fuck, what is she gonna do if she's that wrong? You know, like what if she's wrong? And like the amount of pressure that her character takes on it, you know, as the show progresses, I think is really, it's the weight of the world. And, you know, we, yet again, if I'm going to call back to Buffy, like we're again going to see like, you know, a blonde teenage girl, like making just the most heartrending decisions.
Right.
I think, you know, that you ever see.
I think it's also the moment that she realizes she definitely needs Bellamy to run things. Like she can't do this without Bellamy because she sees how everyone kind of looks up to Bellamy. So, and everyone follows him. So she at this point she realizes I can be like the voice of reason and he can be the charisma and sort of
Exactly.
What's it called? The motivational speaker for people.
Yeah.
She's the brains and he's the pretty face.
I guess. I don't know.
I'm sure in the upcoming episodes of May We Geek Again, I will have some very controversial views on their roles in leadership. But at this point in time, I think they're very much, they play very distinct roles. I think Clark understands that she needs Bellamy because Bellamy has the voice that has cachet with people, whereas Clark is still viewed as that, you know,
Princess.
Alpha Station princess leader. She is one of the elite of the old arc, as it were. So she's kind of going to take on that role, and people might be a little bit, you know, not trusting her, and you know, she's not she's not the voice of the people at that point in time. She's the voice of the ruling elite, much like Wells was with Charlotte, you know, kind of the stand-in for his dad. So, you know, we're still on favorite scenes. So, Joe, what are some of your favorite scenes from these first 4 episodes?
Oh, it's honestly something that I like never really kind of thought about. Like I at least in these few episodes, because they all kind of just serve to me as like sort of building the show. Though I kind of oddly enjoyed rewatching the scene of Wells and Finn and Clark in the old car. If only because it felt sort of natural in a way of like they're trapped in a space and of course they find a bottle of alcohol that has managed to, you know, survive all this time. Never mind all that. And they all drink it like pros. But I kind of just loved when Clark lays into Wells and like shit gets really uncomfortable and Finn is super uncomfortable because I like in that time I identified with Finn, except for me, if there's an awkward moment, like I'm climbing out of that car and getting burned by acid fog. Like I piece out of awkward moments. Like I will just like creep out of a room and leave. Like I don't care who I'm abandoning. Like I'll leave, like, you know, my significant other, like, you know, talking to like people at a wedding, like of my friends, and I'm like, deuces, like I'll see you later. Shit's getting weird.
You're just gonna do the Irish goodbye, just fade
basically
into the distance.
You will never see me again. So I kind of liked sort of the tin can. You know, they're stuck and there's no escape from like this horrible awkwardness. So I guess we're going to be teenagers and drink and talk about our feelings. I liked that. I may be the one person who didn't really like dig Jake kind of a thing. Like I was just kind of on Jake. You know, any of their like family building stuff. I did.
Jake is too handsome for my taste.
Attention Central casting. That man.
So
too
random.
handsome. Too handsome.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
that
just
is-
too handsome
that is,
to
like, the
be
most
believable. It's
beautiful
like,
family
nah,
on TV.
it kills my suspension of disbelief and like, it's too, yeah.
I will say though that when I was watching with my newbie friend, one of my favorite reactions that she had through the whole thing was like there were a few hugs on the arc, and like they all got like broken up. Like you can't keep hugging. You need to stop. And like she was like there are only so many resources to go around for hugs. Like you're breathing too much air. Stop hugging. Like that was kind of one of my favorite like of her observations. You know, like we need to just stop breathing. No more hugs. No more hugs.
You're fucking killing me over here. That really is like the most attractive family on the face of the fucking arc, right? Paige Turco, she doesn't age. She's like a vampire.
Ever.
Eliza Taylor is beautiful and of course the actor who plays Jake, sorry, don't know your name. He's pretty handsome too. So, just the genes in that family.
Do you think like? And here's a question
Clichés.
though, like, you know, like there's sort of this you know, self-selecting attractiveness and stuff like that. You know, when you talk about people who are rich and powerful, like are the, I mean, like I guess it's sort of an unfair sampling considering it's a CW show where everyone needs to be pretty. But like I kind of wish that we got a lot more of like the different stations and like. Are people from Alpha Station, like, are they sexier? Like, is that just a fact of life? And, you know, you are, you know, in mechanical or whatever, and you're a little homely. And, like, that gets back to Raven's parentage, because, you know, she's a piece. Like, maybe her parents were, you know, like, well-to-do or something, and she finds out that she, too, is princess.
I really like all these...
Is that season 4? Am I getting ahead of myself?
Sorry.
I would really like to have seen a little bit more of the caste system of the arc and how that affected the delinquents. Obviously, Clark gets this princess moniker because she's part of Alpha Station. But I would really have liked to see what does it mean to be from Farm Station or a Mechanic Station or these other stations. Like, I have a whole theory about social systems and you know how people breed and shit like that, which is probably not what people are interested in this podcast, but
special episode.
I would really have liked to see a little bit more of that stuff play out when they hit the ground. It seemed like it was all directed towards Clark and Wells, but after Wells died, I didn't really see a lot of that play out past episode 4. And I think that would have been a really interesting dynamic to have explored a little bit. Because I think these social systems, especially the way the arc was kind of, the different stations that were there, it would have been a really interesting thing to explore, especially with the Lord of the Flies theme in the background, but we never got a lot of that. And, it's okay. I mean, they moved past a lot of that stuff really quick. That's fine. But in my wish list, I would have loved to have seen that whole social caste system explained a little bit more and explored a little bit more.
I agree.
So we've kind of wrapped up the favorite scenes from the episode. I think we're nearing a little bit of the end of this podcast. I hate to see it come to an end, but all good things must come to an end. So let me touch on a few of the things that we have coming up. So the next episode, episode 3, I believe, we'll be covering episodes 5 through 8 from season 1. So we're doing the next 4, and then Joe is okay. Okay, Joe, we'll do well. Actually, we have a segment we like to call Well Actually, which is basically the topper segment or the segment where we call things out, where we want to show our intellectual superiority. So let's
was
do
this
well,
was this
actually.
yours, Shahin?
It's got to be Shahin.
Yeah, it's not a good one. It's whatever.
This is so pedantic, Shahin. This is so you. Do it.
I mean,
well,
Clark
actually,
says, I've never felt the sun on my face. I'm like, well, actually, like, how is that even possible, man? Like, You're what is that? That's fucking the sun right outside the window. Like I don't even
So
understand
you
where
wanted
that
her
line
to
came from.
say, you wanted her to say, so I've never felt the heat of the sun on my face.
I mean,
is what you're saying. Like you wanted more poetry, is what you're telling me.
I mean, even that's not true. I mean, when the light is coming through the window, and
But it's
not
not
like
hot. Like there's like
You
3
are
inches
so
of like
literal,
glass.
Shahin.
what does that even mean?
Do you leave your house if you ever like stood outside and been like,
Maybe that's
it's
the
hot out
problem.
here?
That's the only way I've ever experienced the sun is through a window. Like I don't ever leave. So
I mean, okay, that's fair. That's fair. So you're bringing your experience to this. I didn't know. I'm sorry.
Okay. I
I'm
guess
sorry.
the different perspectives. It's all about perspectives.
You guys are killing me.
Literally.
Seriously.
All right, what are we watching next week? We're watching 5 through 8.
So 5 through 8. So if you count it out on your fingers, it's 5, 6, 7, 8. That's 4 episodes. And then, so that's going to be episode 3. And then episode 4 is going to be the last 5.
Isn't it better to have 5 in the middle and then 4?
No, I don't feel like watching 5.
But how do you know what you'll feel like next week when you're sitting there watching it? You watch it and you're like, oh, I really want to watch another.
Look, I can contain my discussion to the next 4 episodes. If you guys are unable to, that is your damage, okay?
Jen is one of those people who would rather go on an underpass than a bridge, even though either way you have to go down one time and go up one time. But
wait, what?
I have no fucking clue what you're talking about. What?
Who has such
Dude.
extreme preferences? Like, is this like a claustrophobia thing? Because
no,
like otherwise,
this is something they take account of in the city planning, where they
in
say
world
that
building.
some people prefer if there's something that when you want to cross a river or a road or something or highway, and you have to either go up and then go down like a bridge, or you have to go down and then go up like an underpass. And it really doesn't make any difference because either way you have to go down once, go down the stairs, and then go up the stairs. So you have to do both things either way, but psychologically people prefer underpasses. So
oh my God.
It's an irrational preference where you're basically saying that you don't want to watch 5 episodes this week, but then you just have to do that next week. So anyway.
Hey everybody, welcome to May We Bridge Again, a podcast covering bridges,
I was
underpasses,
entitled
and
to
And
aqueducts.
tunnels. And tunnels.
Tunnels. Yes.
You guys were going on and on about, what was it? The presidents?
All right. Oh my God. We are so like, I hope everyone is entertained at this point. I'm like 3 drams into my Lagavulin. And a dram is basically, I don't know, a very
How many
fucking
fingers? How many fingers
We
am
all
I
have
holding
some
up
kind of
right
altered
now?
state of consciousness at this
It's
point.
like 4. So next episode, we're going to be covering season 1, episodes 5 through 8. Guys, I really, 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 really want to talk about the fandom is broken article that came out recently on Birth Movies Death, .com is I believe the website. You know, you guys might want to talk about it with me, maybe not. Who cares?
I'll think about it.
But I think it's really important. I can probably go on by myself. So that might be like a bridge episode. And I just want to remind our listeners to tweet us questions or comments at May We Geek Again on the Twitters. We'd love to hear what you have to say about the podcast. We'd love to have any questions you have about things we've watched in the past or things we're about to watch. And I really want to encourage folks to pester the Writers Room on social media, the 100 Writers Room, to counteract a lot of the people that simply yell Lexa and Balark at them. Remember, our support, our positive support, can't be assumed or silent. We really have to show them that we love the show by being funny or absurd. So I encourage folks to fight against the obnoxiousness of the shippers and the haters of the show and just come up with funny things to say. You know, they're folks like us. They want encouragement. They want funny things. They don't want to just fucking noise tweet at them all the time. So, we love the show, but we're often reticent to tweet about how much we love the show. Just give them a tweet. Tell them you love the ship
Glowing
between
forest.
the glowing forest, or the ship between Raven's knee brace and WD-40. Just
is that a
show
ship?
them-
What's that ship's name?
There's not a good one for it yet.
Tweet
I'm
us your
sorry.
names. Tweet us your ship names, everyone. I need this one.
Just guys, I mean, the haters are always going to be loud, and us supporters are always like, I love the show, but it takes effort to tweet. No, fucking, it's 140 characters. Just do it. And then let's get into shows that we recommend. Joe, stop fucking jumping around the document, dude. You're distracting me. Okay, so my recommendations. Unreal on Lifetime is coming back for season 2 on Monday. It is a show that gives you kind of the behind the scenes of a Bachelor-esque type reality show. You're like, oh, that sounds stupid. It is seriously one of the darkest shows on television. Probably even darker than The 100 because it takes place in our world. But it's a great, great show. And then I'm going to bang this drum again. 12 Monkeys on Sci-Fi. It is so good, y'all. It is so good. It needs viewers. It needs to get renewed for a season 3. Seriously, guys, if you love sci-fi, if you love post-apocalyptic stuff, if you love good acting and good characters, watch 12 Monkeys. You guys got anything that you want to recommend?
I will say, like, and this is completely like outside of the realm of what we normally watch, but if you have parents who aren't like hip to the getting into the whole Netflix and streaming thing, and you're trying to get them to cut the cord on their $300 cable bill,
like me,
sit them down to watch Grace and Frankie. Like
really?
My mom like kind of got into Grace and Frankie. Like she had some surgery last year and like sat on she was never a TV person. She kind of sat on our couch and like marathoned it. Second season's a little rocky, but who doesn't love Lily Tomlin, and Jane Fonda's still a piece. So, but as far as like actual shows that I am watching, we actually just finished Daredevil, so we gotta like find something else to do.
Yeah.
Second season of Daredevil, I kind of preferred the first, and I still prefer Jessica Jones over all of them.
I agree with you. And I'll tell you, Grace and Frankie, I haven't watched it, but y'all who are listening who might be in your 20s or late teens or whatever, Lily Tomlin is a fucking American treasure. You need to watch some of her old SNL stuff to really appreciate. Was she on SNL?
I don't know. I just remember her as a kid, like playing that girl who sat in the big chair.
I'm thinking of somebody else on SNL.
Are you thinking of Gilda Radner?
Gilda Radner. Oh my God. Gilda Radner
Get your old lesbian straight. Wait, was Gilda gay?
Wait,
shit.
No, she was married to Gene Wilder. What the fuck? Come on, Joe. Yeah. Oh, Gilda Radner. Again, another, like, watch your vintage SNL. It is amazing. And then we'll go to Shahin, who is only watching BSG.
Oh yeah, how's BSG going?
It's all right. I kind of stopped watching it. I guess that's not a good sign. I'm gonna go back to
4 seasons.
Yeah, well, I'm sort of in 3B right now, second half of season 3, and it I guess one thing that kind of makes me wanna stop watching the show is when there's too much supernatural.
Yeah.
When it's like it basically anything can happen. Like the writer can throw anything at you and you just have to accept it because supernatural. And it's like this dude has a brother who's a column of smoke, and it's like, wow, okay. There's like no internal rules to it, and I feel like BSG is kind of getting in that territory, but I'm still gonna watch it. It's still good, but.
Yeah, it's one of those things
Don't kill me. Lost is good too. Don't kill me.
I actually did not finish either Lost or BSG. Sorry, guys. I feel bad about that. But I kind of like drop shows like A Bad Prom Date. I don't know why. I just do. It's just like I just abandoned it.
For those of us who didn't go to prom. Like that hurts. It's a hashtag trigger warning.
I'm sorry. Sorry for not being heteronormative like me.
Oh my God. Let's talk next week.
Okay, guys. Thanks everyone for listening. Check us out on our next episode, and may we geek again.